Fireline promise. The night the ridge burned both ways, the dozer lurched at the switchback, ember wash in the mirrors. And a voice on Division Alpha 1 I didn't know yet said my name like a lifeline. Mason, do not cut that ridge. The draw is chimneying. Bring them to the high school shelter now. My name is Mason Alvarez. 32, Cal Fire contract dozer operator out of Shasta County. The part of Northern California where summer is a personality and fall is a rumor. My office is a D6N with a roll cage and a radio mount held together by faith and hose clamps. My hours are measured in swampers' hand signals, spot fire calls, and how fast you can do math about slope, wind, and what a pine cone becomes when it decides to be a comet. I run nights because some fires prefer moonlight. I live in a fifth wheel off Old 44. Share a fence line with a neighbor who pulls engines for Station 47, and keep a go bag by the door like it's a pet. My rule is written on a strip of masking tape above the tack. Don't cut a line you wouldn't walk back on foot. The red flag went up before lunch. Single-digit humidity, north wind, the kind of day where grasses have opinions. At 1620, a power line down south of Palo Cerro turned into a vegetation fire and then into a name people would argue about at diners, the Ridge Fire. By 18 o'clock, it had run a mile of oak savanna and lifted into manzanita that remembered every July it had ever seen. Air attack drew ovals on the radio. Division Alpha took the west flank. Division Zulu tried to discover whether the word anchor still exists. I staged on Dry Creek Road, parked behind a water tender that looked tired of my jokes, and got the brief from a division supervisor who had ash on his face like war paint. Night ops, he said, pointing with a gloved finger at a map that smelled like sweat. We're holding the ridgetop from Dog Rock to Browns Creek. We've got a shelter stood up at Foothill High run by Red Cross. Evac. Traffic is a mess. Down Old Oregon Trail. If it spots over our dozer line here, tap, tap. This thing goes to the river. Copy, I said. Hearing the river pronounce the word end the way rivers do, we pushed up the 2-track me. Dozer 2615, and a Type 3 engine walking behind like a chaperone. The world shrank to blade angle, slope, the colored pencil the fire had decided to use on tonight's map. Embers skittered like insects, and then remembered they were seeds. But the truly shocking part hadn't happened yet. At 1912, the wind shifted from a bored north to an excited east, and the draw beside us turned into a throat. Heat lifted like an elevator that forgot the floors between us and the moon. I keyed the mobile division Alpha Dozer 2615 draw is chimneying. I'm pulling to the bench to let her blow. Before Alpha could answer, a new voice in my ear, clear, low. The kind of calm that makes panicked dogs lie down, cut in on the shelter ops. Frequency that someone had patched to Alpha. Mason, this is Ari Patel at Foothill High Shelter. We're getting reports of traffic jammed on Old Oregon with horses and a dialysis bus. Do not cut that ridge into the drumbers. We'll roll into town. If you can hold the bench above Shady Oaks, I can stage evac buses behind your line. Who are you to tell a dozer where to dance? I said, more amused than mad. Red Cross shelter lead, he said. And the guy whose gym full of people trusts your blade. Copy, I did not say aloud in the tone my chest answered with. Bench hold makes sense, I said. But I'll need an engine to black it in. E147 is on your tail, Division Alpha said. Patel's got good eyes. Keep talking. So I did 2 radios, 1 fire, 1 human. Ari and I ran a parallel playbook. He gave me evac flow update school buses, stock trailers. A man walking goats like prayers while I gave him line status bench cut. Firing ops set, spotting on the far knob. We did the strange duet that happens when a wildfire invents a city. 2 strangers becoming a soundtrack at 2004. I cut across a switchback, and the blade hit basalt with a clang that would have embarrassed a bell. The impact pitched the dozer. The engine's idiot light did its polite cough. The slope below glowed like a sleeping animal. Alpha, be advised, I said, this rock's I can push mineral soil along the contour, but we'll need hand crew to clean and hoselay to hold. Copy, Alpha said. 221 hand crew en route. Ari, how you doing with your bus? Almost backed into the north lot, Ari said. His voice did a thing, tightened, then listened. We just got a call from someone stuck by the old water tanks. She's got 2 kids, 1 asthma. I can't send volunteers up that road without eyes. Text me the pin, I said before asking why I had just done that. You gave a dozer operator your number? Alpha asked, amused. I gave the people in my gym a better chance, Ari said. Then to me, dropping pin, and Mason thinks. You can fall in love with competence. You can also pick the exact second you start to trust somebody's sentence. For me, it was the way Ari said thanks like a tool. He knows the weight of weight. Don't miss this detail. 221 arrived helmets, Pulaskis, the particular walk of humans who lift their legs higher because the ground isn't what it looks like. We turned the bench cut into an anchored dozer berm, black, and then a thin brown line that might call itself a firebreak if it wakes up feeling confident. The Type 3 backed down, crew flaked hose. We lit a firing strip along the inside edge to pull the fire back to us, rather than let it find its own conversation. Heat has a grammar. Roar is a verb. Lean is an imperative. Move turns into a law. At 21:05, a spot fire jumped into grass in a gully below, while above us, a torch took a fir and threw sparks like a party no one wanted to RSVP to. Division Alpha said, hold the bench at all costs. Which is a sentence that always comes with a second half you don't say aloud unless it kills you. E147, I said. I'm going to walk my blade down the spur to throw dirt on that spot. Cover me with a straight stream, bounce it off the ground. Bank shot. Copy, the captain said. And he was good. The stream walked ahead of me like a bodyguard who dislikes introductions. We buried the spot, mopped edges, and then the wind backed off for the first time like it remembered its manners. The ridge above us glowed with the slow orange pleasure of timber litter doing the math. Mason, Ari said, we've got people arriving with oxygen needs. Power is spotty at the school. I'm running battery lanterns for the registration desk and setting up cots in the O gym. How long can you keep Old Oregon's east side quiet? As long as the north lot stays clear for engines and evac buses, I said. I'll cone it, he said. And I'll keep the coffee hot. Don't make promises you can't keep, I said. Oh, I can keep that one, he said. And I pictured a man with a beard shadow and a clipboard pouring coffee like a plan. I thought the bench was our answer, but the fire had a riddle on the next ridge. At 22:10, air attack signed off. The seats went to bed. The fire decided it liked night. Firing ops on Division Zulu sent a ribbon of orange up a draw like a runway for a dream. Spots landed in leaf litter by the water tanks above Shady Oaks and thought about becoming surprises. I climbed the Spurlow gear, eyes saying no while hands made yes happen. The tanks sat in the glow like moons. A sedan sat cocked on the turn, hazards winking like polite panic. A woman and 2 kids huddled in the ditch. One kid wheezing like the air had gotten expensive. Hey, I said out the cage. You're going to ride behind me. The dozer will make a lane where no lane exists. Kiddo, what's your name? Elijah, he coughed. Elijah, I said, you're my co-pilot. When I count to 3, we walk behind the big yellow thing and don't stop until the school lights look like home. Ari's voice again. Like a hand on the small of my back. We've got a nurse ready at the north door with a neb and Pez kit. She's small and terrifying. You'll like her. We did the slow dance, downhill in first, blade low. Engine and E147 giving us a wet corridor that looked like the world had ordered a sidewalk after hours. The kids clung to their blankets. The mother whispered a prayer I could almost learn. At the last bend, headlights cut across our lane, someone trying to leave in a pickup loaded with everything. The kind of everything that makes fire look like a thief. Stop, I said gently into the PA. The driver didn't. I pivoted the blade 1 foot left and let steel say what words could not. He stopped. He looked at me like he hated me and loved being alive. He backed up. We passed the north lot of Foothill High, looked like a small civilization. Cots, tables, a smiling woman with a stack of forms, a dog under a sign that said pets, here like animals, read English. And there, under the fluorescent that remembers every science fair, a man in a red vest and dark hoodie, headlamp pushed up on his beanie, clipboard tucked under one arm, coffee in the other like a power tool. Ari got up close. He was in his early 30s. Indian American, beard, trimmed more functional than fashion. Eyes a warm brown that did not apologize for spending the day being useful. He had gloves in his pocket and pens clipped to his lanyard like a man who plans to ask the world for its name. He didn't say hi, he said, Elijah. This way, and the nurse, who was indeed small and terrifying, put a neb mask on Elijah's face with the authority of a barista handing you a drink you didn't order but needed. Ari turned to me with the coffee-like payment. It smelled like the kind of dark that makes friends. You okay? He asked, the way he asks everything, as if I might tell the truth. I keep being, I said. He smiled with tired eyes and a live mouth. Good, he said, because I need 5 minutes of your brain. We stood just inside the north doors, where ash snow turned the strip of light into a theater. He unfolded a map. Old Oregon, Shady Oaks, North Lot, bus loop. He pointed with a pen. If your line holds here, tap. I can push evac traffic this way and keep ambulances on Fairgrounds Road. But if you see embers in the greenbelt, I need a text before the chief gets a call. You want me to be your early warning, I said. I want to buy 10 minutes for the people who are already scared, he said. And for the clinically important, I want to keep oxygen and insulin from becoming adjectives. You're good at this, I said. I know, he said, but the way he said it was not brag. It was promise. Cliffhanger. The radio popped spot fire across the bench, south end. Torch in the greenbelt. Structure protection group moving. Ari's face did the math. Mine answered with motion. I've got to go, I said. I know, he said. Text me here. When you hit the bench? Me too, I said, and it felt like a handshake between storms. But the most shocking part hadn't happened yet. Back on the spur, the fire tried on a new voice. Spot fires licked into broom and duff and then found a fence line like a rumor. E-147 took the north end. Hand crew ran the south with drip torches turned to check. I dropped the blade, cut the duff to mineral, and let the engine walk a curtain of water in front of me. It felt like pushing an argument back one word at a time. Air attack was gone. The only bird overhead was a nighthawk that didn't care about our map. The fire's sound was bookshelf and train and wedding toast in the wrong room. We worked in sentences. Push, wet, scrape, light, black. Check. At 23:03. A radio voice I did not want said break in the line near the old quarry wind shift timbers into the greenbelt by the north lot. My stomach did something ambitious. I keyed Ari here. He answered me too, then added, we're moving everyone from Ojim to Maine. I can hold for 10 minutes if you can keep glow from becoming flame by the tennis courts. On it, I said. And for the first time all night I believed that sentence the way I wanted to. The tennis courts appeared like a weird dream chain link. Lines under ash, a ball machine turned into a still life. The spot had run to the edge and was thinking about jumping. I slashed a trench between the spot and the cedars, shoved dirt, yelled at physics. And then E-147 arrived with a straight stream that made steam into curtains. The hand crew showed like a prayer that had read ahead in the book. We won the minute. Sometimes that's the whole story. I thought the worst of the run was over, but the ridge had saved a surprise for the dozer that thought it knew rocks. Just after midnight, the wind misbehaved again, small this time, like a dog testing the leash. The old quarry sent a draft up the cut. The char tried to relight. A snag threw sparks with the confidence of a birthday party. The fire wanted to be everywhere. We insisted it be here. We trimmed the edge, sprayed the base, and made black out of color. The radio crackled with a different tone, medical in the sheltered alt male, near syncope. Need ALS to north doors. Aries voice, calm, fast. Ambulance stuck by fairgrounds. We can walk the gurney to the door if you can clear a path by the band room. I looked at the map in my head and then at the road in my life. I can cut the berm at the band room door, I said, but I'll need spotters. I have 3 with vests and conscience, he said. Meet me in 2 minutes, I said. I walked the dozer down the access road that shouldn't be called a road. The band room door banged in the wind like tonewood. Ari appeared with 2 volunteers and a security guard wearing a face that said, "Tonight is real." Ari held a mag light like a conductor's baton. Up close, he had a tiny scar on his left cheek, the kind you get from kitchen life or childhood gravity. "Gurney coming," he said. I dropped the blade, scraped a slot, pushed the berm into order. The ambulance arrived. Dal's pair, with faces that say poker and souls that say piano. They rolled in. The patient was a man in his 50s whose blood pressure had decided to remember the past. We did the dance. They rolled back out. Ari touched my elbow in the way people do when thank you isn't currency anymore. "You okay?" he asked again, the ritual becoming a place we could stand. "I keep being," I said, and the sentence fit better in the fluorescent than it had on the ridge. Cliffhanger. A gust hit the north lot. The pets here sin flew. The dog barked like a siren. The radio, spots again by the greenbelt. Now east of the courts. Ari's eyes did their math. Mine did their answer. "I have to go back," I said. "I know," he said. "Dear me too. What you've seen so far is nothing." The East Side wanted to be a story. We wrote a boring one. Dozer cut, hoselay mop, check. We turned orange into memory. The hand crew ate PB&J on the berm like a religion. The engine swapped bottles and told a joke about someone's ex that probably wasn't fair. At 2:05, the wind apologized. The humidity crawled up a number. The stars came out like they had been hiding behind a bad habit. The ridge glowed like coals in an oven that thinks it's done. I parked the dozer just beyond the north lot, under a pole light that had chosen Team Us. Ari came out with 2 paper cups of coffee and the look of someone who will fall asleep standing up in an hour but refuses to do it now. "Want to see the quiet?" he asked. "Always," I said. We stood just inside the gym doors. The room was a low hum, cots like sentences that agree. Breaths in rhythms you can forgive. Kids sprawled starfish under Red Cross blankets. A grandfather with oxygen like a metronome. A teenager sat by the charging station with a Polaroid camera he'd found in a donation box. He took pictures of dogs, volunteers, the coffee urn, and light on a stack of water. He waved, shy and pleased to have found a job, back under the pole light. Snowed ash, doing its soft apocalypse. Ari handed me the coffee and let his hand stay at the lip of my glove for the length of a breath. Not a claim, a rest. It was the safest inch in Shasta County. "Here," I said. "Me too," he said. We didn't kiss. We did the forehead thing 1 count because some nights are not for fireworks but for oaths. 2 days later, at Calfria Shasta posted a recap thread, maps, containment percentages, a dozer line traced in yellow like a belt turned into a sentence. The last image wasn't a map. It was a photo someone had taped to the shelter bulletin board and then someone else had photographed a Polaroid developing on a folding table. 2 small figures under a pole. Light a man in a soot-smudged hard hat. A man in a red vest, foreheads inclined, and ash flurry making snow out of September. The caption read, "Small, honest, enough." Ari texted me the post, and then, after a pause long enough to qualify as a decision, "Dinner, always," I wrote. "Good," he said. "Because I am." We ate enchiladas at La Coquina de Ana, because the sign promised green sauce and mercy. He asked about dozer sprockets like it was a poem. I asked about shelter logistics like it was a dare. We didn't make a schedule. We made a ritual. When the red flag flies, we text here. When the containment number ticks up, we text me too. He keeps a headlamp in my rig's glove box. I keep a Sharpie in his vest. Sometimes the safest place isn't a house outside the evac zone. Sometimes it's a bench cut that holds when wind and gravity politely decline. Sometimes it's coffee in a north lot under a light that doesn't require permission to work. Sometimes it's the inch between two foreheads, while an entire town remembers it can breathe. I'm here, I say, when the map looks like a problem. Me too, he says, and the ridge, which never really belonged to us, lets us try again.